Good morning, David. How are you?
I'm great, Hugh. Good morning.
I have a couple of data points for you. Just breaking news from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution this morning. Donald Trump, that's he's going to run. Trump has 47% and Harris 43% among likely voters. And then from Daily Indy out of Nevada, and you know John, and I know John,
Yep.
the Republicans lead by about 8,000 votes statewide, or 3% in terms of the early voting and in-person voting there. John's very surprised that hasn't happened since 2004. Uh, the Reid machine is breaking down. Your reaction to those two data points, and my general assumption that data points are data points. We don't know the story, and we won't know the story until the night of November 5.
Yeah, look, the Nevada one's much more interesting, Hugh, but it shows us, something that we've known for some time, which is that Trump is more competitive in Nevada this time than he was in his previous two campaigns, as close as they were, and more competitive than Republicans have been since 2004 when George W. Bush won Nevada. It's the last time a Republican won Nevada. The Georgia polling's interesting. But it's from where are we on the 20 we're on the 22nd today. That poll was taken the 16th and 17th, so early last week to mid last week. And these things can move, especially in a close race. But Ralston is one of the few guys that knows how to analyze early vote, and in his state, and so that is something to pay attention to. And if you're Democrats, you've got to be concerned.
So I have written a Fox News column today, David, on the various Senate candidates. I'm flying to Ohio after the show today and doing an Gallagher tonight in Columbus. I think Bernie is now statistically tied with Sherrod Brown, which not many people thought would have it. Same with David McCasey. What do these wisps of data in the wind tell you about the Senate control next year?
Well, we already know, at least we think we know, but it seems it's a pretty secure piece of analysis that Republicans are in a position to pick up the Senate. West Virginia is going to flip. That's just done. The polling in Montana and the behavior of both parties in that Senate race showed Tim Sheehy, the Republican nominee, ahead substantially. And Donald Trump's going to carry Montana, by double digits, maybe 12 points, maybe 16 points, somewhere in there. Just too much for John Tester to outrun. So there we are at 51-49. And then Republicans are pressing in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio. And I may be leaving something out, but
Maryland. I
Sherrod
think maybe Maryland might be. You just can't count Larry Hogan out. He was so popular.
You don't have to. I'm skeptical because it's like the reverse of Montana, only worse because Harris will win, by about anywhere from 20 to 30 points. That being said, the point I was going to get to is Sherrod Brown seems to be, of the red staters, not the purple staters, seems to be the only incumbent Democrat with a shot at holding on in a state Trump will win by anywhere from 8 to 10 points. But Moreno's numbers have been improving and improving and improving. And look, I've thought all along, Democrats were trying to paint him, as an unacceptable right wing Republican, and he just doesn't stylistically play that way. And so I always thought that he was going to put himself in a position to win. But if there was any, red state Democrat that might hold on, I think Brown is the only one that might. But the polling showing Moreno in a good position. And look, when you're pressing your opponents in purple states like Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and particularly in Wisconsin, where Republicans themselves weren't high on Eric Hovde, to say the least, and Tammy Baldwin has usually been in a better position by now. You've got to feel good about possibly picking up a larger majority than you had envisioned. And I left out races in Nevada and Arizona, but Republicans do not feel confident about those Senate races, even though they're very confident about President Trump's prospects in both states, for all the obvious reasons.
Now, Democrats cannot seem to make up their mind where to spend their money on trying to flip a red seat. There's Ted Cruz and about Allard for a while, and that's kind of died down now that Cruz has got a 7-point lead. They're excited about Rick Scott for a while, but then in Florida, and DeSantis has done another great job. That's faded away. So now they're throwing everything into Nebraska, where Deb Fischer armed services and widely popular, and they're trying to run a union guy as an independent. What do you make of that?
Always some race that pops up that nobody expected that appears competitive. Look, I mean, if I had to bet money, I'd bet that Fisher will pull it out. It's a red state. You've got Trump at the top of the ticket, and so even if people are unhappy or just sort of not excited about Fisher in the same way they are about other Republicans, she ought to end up pulling it out. Osborne's an interesting character, an interesting candidate. He's made the race competitive. We know it's competitive because Republicans have put money in there. Fisher will probably finish ahead.
David M. Drucker, always a pleasure, because when Democrats put money into a state, Mitch McConnell and Stephen Law and the rest more. Deb Fischer will be fine. But always good to catch up with you. I'll see you next week at the same time. Maybe we'll cross paths out on the campaign. Ohio or Philly this week. Don't go anywhere, America. Hour number 2 of the Hugh Hewitt Show straight ahead.